Welcome back to the eSports Report presented by the Xbox One, the official console of MLG. Jack joined by Max in the studio on this beautiful Friday evening in New York City. Max, we got started with the show talking about isolation. He picked up Parasite the other day, and now he's no longer being used. Well,
guess what?
In the middle of the break, we went on Twitter, and what did you find?
So, Dito tonight, in their match against Team Envious, said that they will be using Parasite. So,
I don't even know anymore.
I don't know.
I don't know what that guy. I love him, but I don't know what's happening.
So, I mean, like, here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow, you'll see, hey, we just picked up Parasite permanently. 2 days later, we've decided to let Parasite go.
I mean, I want them to be successful. I really do, because I think Isolation, with him on that lineup, could go places. But it's going to be so back and forth. Now, if you just are tuning in, today we are breaking down the top 8 power rankings so far in Season 3. If you're wondering what power rankings are, it's basically not where they're placed at the moment, but the potential we've seen from them, the matches they've won, the matches they've lost, where we think they stand so far in Season 3. Your top 8 so far: Optic Nation, Elevate, Team Orbit, TCM, Max. Who's in at number 4?
So, I said it right before the break. Number 4 are the Boys in Blue, Team Envious, the roster of Looney, JCap, Octane, and Aqua. Take a look at some of their notable matchups. They beat Elevate 3-2, a huge win for them. Then they're able to squeak out a win against Optic Nation as well at 3-2. But then they play against the big boys. They lose 3-1 to FaZe. Right, the big boys. But really the shining light from their losses is they take Optic Gaming to a Game 5. That was the first night of Season 3. Their best game type, Jack, it's uplink. They're 6-0. That's the only team in the Pro League to have a perfect record in a game mode.
Yeah, really surprised to see that. This past weekend, there were some split-second decisions from that squad that didn't go their way in uplink at UMG Dallas. Here, though, in the Pro League, 6-0, JCap, their leader in that game mode. He will tell them exactly where to run that drone, when to stop, when to wait for teammates. You can even hear it in their listen-ins this past weekend. He will always ensure what they have to do.
Yep, and then take a look at their Week 4 schedule. They're going to be at Team Caliber, at Denial, and they're going to come home to play TCM and Rise. Jack, just looking at it right now, I'd rather be home playing Denial than home playing like Rise.
Oh, absolutely. Really, in those matches right there, where do you see this team at the end of this week? Do you think they can go a perfect 4-0, or do they sit at maybe 3-1? What do you think?
They have the potential to upset Denial, I think. TK, TCM, and Rise, I think those are pretty simple. 3-1, 3-0 wins for the Boys in Blue. But the match of the week for me, for Week 4 for Envy, will be against Denial. At away, they'll only be able to host 2 matches. Maps will be very tough for them. But uplink, I mean, that's pretty much a guaranteed win for them.
Yeah, absolutely incredible stuff from them so far in that game mode versus Denial. I think that's the match of the week for this lineup. If they can take that one, there's their move into the 3rd place spot. Right now, they're 4th in the league. We have them at 4th in the overall power rankings. Now, Max, if you're a fan of Envy, where do you think this team needs to improve? What do you think they need to work on?
I don't think they really need to, make a roster change or anything. I think this roster.
Oh, no, not like anything.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it really just comes into consistency.
Yeah.
This team is obviously, like we said, a great uplink team. S&D, we've seen them go to Game 5, not able to clutch up against OG. Hardpoint, they have the slaying ability. And I think it just becomes being able to become consistent against the top teams in the Pro League.
Yeah, so far we've seen JCap at times can be a little inconsistent in the respawn game modes, especially in Hardpoint. But a big thing that comes to mind with this team is their confidence in their decision making. I mentioned it earlier in Uplink. Octane this past weekend, I was tweeting him. I said, what was really going wrong for you guys in that game mode? He said, I just don't know exactly what to do in these split-second decisions, and it really comes back to hurt them. And he said if he can begin to work on that, he thinks confidence will be his #1 thing. Well, when you have a veteran like JCap behind you, giving you that motivation, when you have Looney, who's always going to be your aggressive player with that sub, trying to get control of the crucial areas of the map, and then finally Aqua, if he can remain consistent at the beginning of their hardpoint games, we saw this past weekend he had some games where he started off 1-7, 2-9. If he can begin to stay consistent at the start, give Envy that early lead to then build that confidence in a series, you'll see the Boys in Blue really begin to improve.
Yeah, I mean, looking at their numbers for Uplink, Octane has over a 1.50 overall KD in that game mode. JCap as well, like you said, that veteranship in Uplink, he's averaging above a 1.10 KD, and he's averaging over 3 Uplinks per game. So those numbers from JCap are really why this team is 6-0. And then when you have like supporting players like Aqua, Octane, and Looney, it's no wonder why this team is 6-0.
Envy, sitting at 4th right now in our power rankings. They're facing our #3 team, Next week, that is Denial Esports, the Wolfpack. A look at their roster here. Replays, Temp, Hook, and Slasher. Their notable matchups, they took down Rise 3-0. They took down TK 3-2. They took down Elevate 3-0. But their big loss so far, 3-2. They took the loss to TCM. Aches and TP had the better of them in that series.
That was a massive series for TCM to win over Denial. That's their only loss actually in Season 3 so far. Looking at their best game type, Hardpoint.
Does it surprise you?
No, not at all. I mean, when you see the young Slain talent on this team, that's pretty obvious. They're 6-2 overall. They have a 1.16 team KD. Their best map is Drift, also one of the new modes we've seen in Season 3 so far. And taking a look at their Week 4 schedule, Jack, they're going to go to Envy, like we said. Then they'll come home to play Optic Nation and Isolation. Pretty easy Week 4 schedule for the Wolfpack, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is a lineup that can go 3-0 next week. We've seen so far the schedule breakdowns for these squads. This one I am very confident in. Looking at their search and destroy game, Detroit, this team is absolutely electric. Slasher pulls out that Moors, can lock down the middle of the map. So many first bloods from him, but then also, when they need to get aggressive, they have that ability, clearing right through the A site into green. They did it time and time again in that game mode. Always expect them to do that in the rounds they need to win most because they are so good at trading. Also, their split-second decision-making, unlike really any other for me at this moment. Hook is one of the best at it. You cannot hesitate in AW. Hook rarely ever does. That's why he's able to trade down the kills and chase them down, especially in Search and Destroy.
Yeah, and then we've heard Temp as well in Hardpoint. You know, even his overall mindset going into a competitive Call of Duty series.
Yep.
You know, he's going to destroy whoever he plays against. It doesn't matter if he's playing the best. Doesn't matter if he's playing the worst. He's going to just go into the mindset that I'm going to beat everybody. He doesn't care if he just got 6-0 in S&D. He's going to go in and think he's going to drop 35 kills and 5 uplinks in the next Hardpoint. And even uplinks, excuse me. But let's look at the Wolfpack. You know, your number 3 team from UMG Dallas this past weekend. Going into number 2, it's not Optic Gaming. It's actually the Red Militia, the FaZe Clan, Jack.
Yeah, finishing first this past weekend at UMG Dallas, now taking home a championship, stopping Optic from getting 3 straight UMG victories. There's a look at their lineup. Clayster, Attach, Enable, and Zuma. Their notable matchups, 3-1 win versus Envy, 3-0 win versus Elevate. But their big loss so far was actually to the team in first place. They lost that one 3-0.
I wouldn't say the 3-0 is really a definite description of how that series went.
But they still lost 3-0.
Right. The hard point was really close. Zuma was encountering some internet issues in between games 1 and 2, so there was a bit of delay. After that, FaZe didn't look like the same team at all.
Yeah.
And like we just saw, they just trounced Optic Gaming at UMG Dallas.
And didn't FaZe outslay Optic in that series as well?
I believe so. In the first hardpoint, they outslayed.
Yeah.
OG was still able to take the map. But, I mean, looking at Hardpoint, the only loss in Hardpoint came to Optic Gaming. That's their best map, their best game mode, excuse me, and then a 1.15 team KD. Their best map, Solar, I mean...
I would say that right now, Solar Hardpoint is, like, Solar Hardpoint for FaZe is the team that's the strongest in a single map in all of Call of Duty. So what I mean
as by... right now?
Yeah, as of right now. So, like, I would take FaZe winning on Solar Hardpoint more than any other team on any other map, because of what we've seen so far from them in the past few weeks.
Yeah, to compare that to like the first half of AW.
Yeah.
Optic Gaming and Retreat. You know, once you like, I'm playing Retreat Hardpoint against Optic Gaming. Well, I'm really down 0-1.
Kind of still now too.
Yeah, kind of still now too.
Yeah.
Like Formal is just an absolute beast on that.
I think he always drops 52 on that map.
Oh yeah, it's just like oh well. And then taking a look at their Week 4 schedule, they're going to be going up against Epsilon.
That's going to be at Epsilon.
Right, and they're going to be home against TCM versus ISO at home as well. And then they travel to play Burns Off and the boys at Orbit.
Yeah, a matchup and a week that really could go 4-0 for this squad. Epsilon still really hasn't found their groove in Season 3 at the moment. TCM, the match for me this week. They do have the host advantage in that series. But really, the word that comes to mind for me for FaZe and what we talk about with the rest of these teams where they're really consistent, FaZe is the definition of consistency for me. You're always going to have this squad just absolutely dominating in the slaying department. Really, right now, the player who's done by far the best in Season 3 and in these last couple LAN events for himself is actually Zuma.
Yeah.
He's been playing out of his mind. The way he plays in Search and Destroy, and I was talking to Clayster and the other guys on FaZe about this, will make every other team change exactly how they set up, because he always finds the best places to flank, knows when to chase down a kill and maybe trade his life,
right,
or just pick up a kill and dart out to safety instead of getting overly aggressive. Lesser players will pick up one and then search for the second. No, he'll get the number advantage and then just pull back and be more than satisfied with that.
Zuma's been huge for FaZe, honestly. For me, though, Enable. He's someone who's become extremely...
Consistency, exactly.
Right. We saw him really at, UMG California, X Games, kind of disappear in those big moments, those big series, especially against Optic Gaming. But now that he's playing consistently, that team has really ironed out everything.
Yeah. 1.2 plus KD there from Enable this past weekend. Also, the thing to point out, we got to speak to the head ref at the end of UMG Dallas, so this is one of my favorite things to tell people. He walked up to us and said, of all teams in the booth this weekend, no matter how bad of a moment FaZe was in, they were by far the happiest. They were always in positive spirits, even when, let's say, they get wiped 4-0 in a round in search, when teams would maybe be quiet or would argue with each other. No, FaZe was positive. They worked on communication on what they needed to fix. They were always calling out no matter how bad of a situation they were in or really how good. That is a sign of a team that's destined for greatness. So FaZe Clan sitting in second, the Red Militia looking very strong at the moment, dominating in the hardpoint game mode, but still the team that is undefeated in Season 3 at the moment, your #1 squad in the power rankings, Optic Gaming. Say what you want about how they performed this past weekend. They are looking electric so far in Season 3. Scump, Karma, Crimsix, and Formal. Max, this team is still doing it all in the league.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Jack. I mean, you took a look at the notable wins. A 3-0 FaZe, like we said before. They're able to clutch up a Game 5 against Envious on the first day of Season 3. Their notable losses, Jack, they don't have any. They're undefeated. Take a look at their best game type. Uplink, I mean, really hardpoint uplink, you think are the two best. Yep. I believe they have an 8-3 record in hardpoint as well, but overall in terms of map win record, uplink was their best game type. 5-1 overall record, a 1.04 team KD, and then best map comeback. I mean, if you've watched any of AW, you could say that easily.
Yeah. They were dominant at it at the beginning of AW. It kind of got a little sketchy there in the middle, but now I love OG on comeback at the moment, and it's mainly in part due to that man right there, their captain, Scump. He plays that map so well, especially on the less preferred side. I'd take OG as the best team on the less preferred side on that map because Scump knows how to control yellow so well.
We saw them play comeback uplink. I believe it was against... Who was it against? It was a week 2 matchup. But anyway, Formal drops 42 kills, tying the uplink kill record for all of the Pro League of AW. And Crimsix drops only 9 kills. They still win. That's how good Optic Gaming is on a map like Comeback Uplink. And taking a look at their week 4 schedule, they're going to go to Elevate, then they're going to go to Optic Nation, they're going to go play their sister team, and then they're going to come home to play the last placed 0-5 Epsilon.
Pretty easy schedule, honestly, for them next week. They just can't overlook any of these teams. That's really where I feel OG begins to get a little shaky, especially at LAN events where they overlook the team they're going to be facing. Expect Optic Nation to go 3-0 next week. So, before we go to this quick commercial break, let's take a look at where our power ranking teams stood. Optic Nation in 8th place. They're currently sitting in 4th in Season 3, but we think they've only beaten 9th through 12th place teams. They haven't really shown us what they're fully capable of. Elevate, your 7th place team. Expect to see them improve with TJ Halley now on the lineup. Orbit there in 6th. They need to begin to figure out some of these new maps, really begin to get comfortable with each other, but they have so much potential. If they can really harness that, you fully expect them to make the playoffs. Number 5, TCM. They've been really beginning to improve. TP and Aches are very happy with Jerd and Moose, especially when Moose can slay for this team. In 4th, Envy, the team that's 6-0 in Uplink so far in Season 3, and they can really begin to get more and more consistent, especially in the hardpoint games. This team will definitely go places. In 3rd, the Wolfpack, Denial, looking so strong at the moment in hardpoint, especially with a 1.15 team KD. Hook, Slasher, and Temp are the trio of slayers that Replays really needs to get the objective done. In 2nd, FaZe Clan. Obviously, they speak for themselves. Consistency is the word for this team. They're always positive. They're always going to do what they need to win. And finally, Optic Gaming. Still your #1 team, still undefeated, but FaZe is closer than ever to taking them over. Guys, don't go anywhere. When we come back, predictions for tonight's matches.